back to another episode of Conversations, the show where we like to get a little divergent with our thinking and explore through thought and conversation instead of necessarily having to make a decision today. So there's lots of decisions we have to make in life. This is a space where we get to explore and have fun, learning new things, exploring new perspectives, and listening to amazing guests like I have today on cool topics that are not just relevant to one part of our lives, but are relevant in all parts of our lives. You know what? That was a really good intro, and I make this up every time I do it, but I might replay that one and see what I did there because that was pretty good. For those of you who are new to the show, welcome. For those of you who are not new to the show, welcome. We would love to hear your voice in the comments. So this conversation show is not just a conversation for Tracy and said guest of the day. It is a conversation for all of us. So please share your thoughts, questions, perspectives, insights with our topic of the day, which is self-worth. And so, as you can probably imagine, self-worth is one of those things that really covers the gamut of our lives. There's self-worth conversations we have in a career perspective. There's self-worth conversations we have as entrepreneurs. I know I have. There's self-worth conversations as parents. There's self-worth conversations just from the being a human perspective. So we're going to touch on what comes up today. And if there's a specific arena in which you would like to explore the conversation of self-worth, please share that with us in the comments. So before we get too deep into the conversation, let's learn a little bit more about our guest for today, Endre Hoffmann, who is the self-proclaimed doctor of self-worth. So he's going to prescribe us some things today. I'm looking forward to this. So Endre, can you tell us a little bit more about you and why self-worth is so important to you?
First of all, thanks very much. I'm so excited to be here and have a deep conversation. Well, my story is lack of self-worth for 30 years. And as you said, Tracy, it affected every area of life. I was a ruin and I kept running and escaping from myself. But that has changed, and it took me a long time to find something that actually works to shift self-worth, and it's closely connected to self-image. And these two things determines your results in every area of life. And if we talk in business, it didn't work for me. I lost investments. I had written or been businesses ridden to the ground where I lost them. I lost money. And now I have business owners, business leaders to experience the magic of self-worth, to be able to get the results instead of the old struggles and negative self-talk and emotional triggers, to multiply their impact in life and business. And this is all connected at the deepest level. And now I basically just love these wonderful interviews. I help people each day, and I have life-changing conversations. And that's what I am. I don't even separate it from my private life. So I'm one of those lucky ones who doesn't know whether I'm working or I'm on holiday, because it feels like the same. Ask me any questions.
Yeah. Okay. This is so awesome. So, first of all, I want to welcome our guests who are in the comments. Hello, David. Always good to see you, my friend. And David, if you have any specific questions about these arenas or would like to share your journey, we would love to hear that as well as anybody else who is in the chat. Endre, one of the things that comes up for me is what is the difference between self-worth and confidence? I'm sure they're interrelated, but how are they different? How are they different and how are they the same?
So I believe self-worth is this inner, I would call it this inner strength to feel powerful, which is I can have what I want in life. Whereas to me, self-confidence is more about situational, where one is feeling either experienced enough or educated enough to go into certain situations. And I have heard so many interpretations of these two. I'm not claiming that I have the golden answer, but I believe these two are so connected and they complete each other. And as long as you have one, probably you have a better chance to have the other one connected to you, where you are actually present. Because I believe the only place to break out of your current results is to finally arrive in the now. Eckhart Tolle talks about this when you are not, in a fearful mode or survival mode. So you are seeing and picking up on signals and opportunities around you, and they come from people, by the way. So you want to connect to people, and then not being in the future where most people are, where they are so triggered by anxiety and playing out the worst case scenarios, and they already living those fears as if they were true, whereas they are imagined.
I think this is something that's always been really interesting to me is the power of the brain based on like wherever we are. And so like in the shower this morning, I was so busy thinking, like I can't even actually remember what I was thinking about, but I was so busy thinking something that wasn't what I was doing that I couldn't remember if I had washed my face. And so I did it. I think I did it twice. Maybe I just did it once. I don't remember. And in that moment, I was like, oh, this is so interesting. Like how often we get into this like autopilot mode and we don't even notice that we're not paying attention to what's happening right now. So is there like something you see in terms of narratives in society or habits in society that kind of push us towards or glorify autopilot versus this living in the now?
Well, we have this wonderful device I call the subconscious mind, and it really is for you to empower your life. Now, the the default programming is if you do something repeatedly, then it automates.
Right.
Now, this is the best thing when it comes to tying your shoes or brushing your teeth or doing these repetitive things that need to be dealt with. But of course, the mind would not make distinctions. So when it comes to a train of thoughts that you've been practicing or rehearsing long enough, then it falls back into the same patterns. I had so many times when I drove home, I haven't got a clue the route I took or what way and what happened in, between taking off and arriving home. So I believe the real challenge is puts a crowbar in the cogs and say, I want to step back and look at what I'm doing, or where is my mind that happened to you today, where you may be, and this is a tricky one, what you're rehearsing in your head, whether it's anxiety or the best case scenario in your life, it would then creating a magnetic field around you. So if you're not careful, then you might be replaying thoughts of, well, I'm unlucky, or there's no opportunities, there is a downturn in the economy, the world is going to collapse. Then at that point, you really are putting on your VR goggles. I have this tool here, and you start to see the world through the lens that you have created for yourself. Sometimes someone else is putting on different lenses. And if you're not careful, then, they will be controlling your mind. Or you do it the disempowering way that you probably do not want.
Right.
So catching yourself. And really, this is where coaching comes in, where someone can put you on the spot and have those hard conversations and questions that it's unawareness. I get caught
Yeah.
still.
And I think this is, I mean, I feel like these types of like being present in the now, being authentic and all of these types of things. I don't believe that any of this exists in a 100% version, that we all have habits and we all have trauma and we all have stories, and that the journey will continually reveal more of them. And that's why I believe in the power of conversation as well, because you never know when you're going to get caught in an old pattern. And one of my favorite things to do, I do it at home too. I don't know if my husband loves it as much, but I always, when someone says something that I don't think they actually believe, I stop and I say, like, do you actually believe that? Like, not in an angry way, but in a curious way. And almost always people are like, oh, no, I don't. Okay, great. We started to notice. And then we can start to build a habit of noticing. And then we can start to build a habit of going deeper and exploring what's all the gooey goodness that's down there.
It's such a powerful thing. I just wanted to
Yeah.
just drop here that if you are watching us and listening to us, if you are those kind of people who tend to say never or every, probably you are generalizing. And people hate me when I pick up on that and say, well, every morning, every time, and every day. And what you do then is really questioning and opening a door to another reality that's always been there.
Mm-hmm.
But because the way they interpret and exaggerate on what they probably don't want in their life, they pretty much get more of that.
Right.
Because the story they're telling themselves is pretty much creating emotions. And obviously law of attraction brings in similar thoughts. That is just probably a way down to the rabbit hole.
Yeah. I like to refer to this as the Dodge Caravan phenomenon. So for those of you who have not heard me talk about this before, although I talk about it a lot, my husband and I were on a road trip, and in North America, at least this was true 5 years ago when that happened, they always said the Dodge Caravan is the #1 selling van in North America. And I don't know why I was thinking this, but I was like, they say this, and I never see any Dodge Caravans. I'm going to just pay attention to all the Dodge Caravans and count how many I see. And I counted like 37 in like 15 minutes. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to stop because that's going to take forever. I get it. Maybe they're right. And the reason I shared that what might seem like a funny version of that is, but I couldn't see it until I started to look for it. And then once I started to look for them, they were actually everywhere. And it didn't change. Me looking for them didn't actually change the number of Dodge Caravans there are. It just changed me paying attention to something that was always there. And this happens everywhere. There's a couple good questions in the comments, and I'm going to come to them. But I want to ask quickly, Andre, how do you see this playing out in people's career and like either progressing or not progressing where they might want to in their career?
Well, I would say business career. I mean, you've already told us a wonderful example, a perfect example how probably the results that you're looking for, they've been provided a long time ago. My mentor loves to say this. If it's abundance, if it's doubling your sales, if it's more peace, well, are you aligned? Are you focusing on that? Because as long as you're focusing on the opposite, you'll find it. So if you are the person who is looking for pain and trouble, or there are these people who are picking a fight, what do you think they're going to find? So search for what you want. Mm-hmm. Don't give in to stories in your mind. And of course, this fearful surviving mind will throw you enough to basically distort you and disturb you from your conscious goal. Mm-hmm. And that's maybe a challenge when it comes to getting results.
Right. And I think we're not here to tell you that there's a way to like eliminate challenges. Challenges will come up, but these are mindsets that allow us to problem solve, to go deeper, to explore. Why am I having this emotion? What are the thoughts that I'm having that are tied to this emotion? Are those thoughts true? Are they not? And like, I feel like I've gotten to the point where that activity is really fun for me. And not that the emotion itself is necessarily fun for me, but that the activity of discovery is fun. And that's through practice as well. Okay, let me go to the comments quickly here. First of all, hi Inger, welcome. Always great to see you, my friend. And Alan is popping in. Thank you so much. Who originally said he couldn't make it, but made it. Awesome. All right, so question from David. What is the relationship of self-worth and purpose? So we talked about confidence, but what about the purpose component?
I believe there are 3 stages, and let me just step back one more time, or one step back. I believe most of the people who are living on this planet, they had, let's say, not the most empowering events in their lives and childhood. And
that's a very nice way to put it.
So there is trauma, all kinds of situations and abuse, all of these things. So we kind of all have this, some call baggage, a big bag of limiting patterns and fears that we are carrying. So I call that state a limited self or unconscious beingness. And there comes a time when one is starting to take responsibility and say, oh, there are certain repeating patterns in my life, and I can see somehow I'm the common element. So that's the awakening moment, number 1. And then either the pressure of life will have this person to break through those beliefs, or someone else, a coach, a mentor, will shed light on the truth or who they really are. And I call that kind of best version, or emotional freedom and clarity, really arriving to the present. And I believe one gift that tends to happen at that point as well to my clients is self-worth, when the limiting ideas are gone, and it opens up a new dimension to see what wealth is, or abundance of what it means. And it's not just money, it's time, it's having access to information, internet, libraries. They are almost all free now. So then self-worth and abundance and wealth has a new definition. And from that point, I think starts to have, naturally, when one is restored, they start to see purpose, or the why. Why am I here? What can I give? How can I contribute to people, planet? And I have to say, there comes a point when somehow helping someone else will give you satisfaction. Maybe not in the short term, but a longer term, it will be a need to satisfy and to create a happy life. And that's where I think purpose starts to automatically come in. And I believe if you're able to have, I believe like Tracy has this wonderful business, or I'm expressing my own maybe highest version or my highest self through what I'm doing as work, you really hit the jackpot. Because at that point, I believe sometimes even your big financial goals, which I had, will become fairly relevant when I really loving myself and what I'm doing and how I'm showing up each day. At that point, your purpose becomes you, or let's say your purpose start to create, or you start to create your life. And I'm talking about your calendar. The way you spend your time will fill your calendar. So you will have those values, things that are important to you, and basically you can eliminate everything else. And then you just being really authentic. And just one last thing I wanted to drop here is then I believe that's the ultimate goal, when you could live your life on your terms. the way you want to.
Yeah. Well, and I do think this is so critical in if we're going to talk about purpose, because I'm going to use this example. So I hosted my first LinkedIn local on Tuesday, and afterwards I just felt like I was in my genius, right? Like, this is what I was put on this earth to do. And everybody took away connection and feelings and transformation. And I was like, yes, this is what I do. And yeah, sure, I can do that in sales and I can do it in marketing. But the bigger picture is that, like, that's what I do. And when I look at my old corporate life and all the things I did a lot of things. I did a lot of things that were meaningful to people, but they weren't meaningful to me. And I think the purpose and that making your contribution, not a contribution, but your contribution, that's how I define purpose. And I don't think you have access to that if you don't appreciate yourself enough and have enough self-worth to say, like, yeah, I can do it my way. I can say that this is what I'm here to do, and I can find a business way to do that, and I can find a personal way to do that, and I can find a way to, like, forgive my parents for my trauma through that, right? Like, there's so much power in that. And I want to go back to Madeline's question, because I think we have a good, like taking this, we can just like take it on a roll to answer her question. What advice would you give to someone who may have positive self-worth but poor confidence?
Here's what we need to do. We need to find the stories about that lack of confidence. And I would challenge that high self-worth paired with low self-confidence, because for me that's a massive mismatch. So I would love to see what are the root causes of that. Maybe something has happened in the past, probably. And the trick is this: imagine if we were able to change what happened in the past. Well, I got bad news. We can't change it. But we can change how you relate to it or how you evaluated those events. And when we were able to change the meaning of what happened in the past, at that point, let's say those hidden inhibitors of your or saboteurs of your lack of confidence seem to just unlock. And what's left is a very capable and strong human being who is resilient, because at your core, that's who you are. But because of the pressures of life, whatever happened, you've kind of lost yourself. And what we really need to do, when computer programs, they just restore the default.
Right.
That just came up with this idea now where
that would be super handy if we could just go back to like 5-year-old version of Tracy.
I know it's funny, but that's the feeling that's what I do. I restore adults into playful, fun, emotionally free human beings who are enjoying what they do, and they get paid for it. That's, I believe, a wonderful being back to its authentic self. And I believe everyone deserves this.
Okay. I want to go into that piece about play, because this is something that's been coming up for me this week. So I always feel like that's where we're meant to go. But I do want to just add something on from the confidence component before we go there, in terms of, like, how do the spaces that you participate in and the people that you are around, how do they impact that maybe transitioning of self-worth into confidence? Because I feel like maybe this is something that happens when like, yeah, I believe in my value as a human. I like myself. I think I'm fun. But then I have to go to work every day and it's just like gray. Or like, I'm pretty sure I'm not the only person who experiences this, but like my family, my default family, right? They don't make me feel like I'm my shiniest self.
I
Right?
hear you.
So how do the places and the spaces contribute into or stunt the growth of our self-worth?
Well, such a key factor, probably one of the biggest ones, because if you're not able to control the environment in some way, that puts a cap on your results and
Right.
on your, how far you get. And I would go as far as, if you want to accelerate, you've got to put yourself among the people who are getting the results that you want, or maybe more
Right.
than what you are looking for. And if there is some ways of abuse or people who are holding you back, I would I would say you've got to find ways to renegotiate that relationship, or to create boundaries where they are not, let's say, hypnotize you
Mm.
to someone limited, because environment is one of the biggest factors. And I always say that, life and results in business have become fairly simple these days, and it doesn't take more than probably 4 or 5 things to have consistent breakthroughs.
Mhm.
And one would be, I would call, relevant education, strategy that works.
Mm.
Tracy has plenty of them, I guess. You've got to have mindset in place for every breakthrough. These two.
Mm.
You need to be able to find this mastermind where you are nurtured with people, which would be either a coach or someone you look up to in your field or in your whatever you do. And I would say that mindset piece requires some one-on-one work. It's someone who is able to pinpoint in your head that, hey, this is what's holding you back, before you lose years and years and learn from repeating events. Oh, looks like my prices are too low and I've been in these situations for now 5 years. Probably there is some issues.
Right.
You lost so many opportunities at that point. You've lost probably millions or hundreds of thousands of dollars because you were not present. You were doing deals, remember, from that limited self.
Mhm.
So the results will be limited naturally,
Mhm.
because you don't see the big deals at that point.
Right.
Have
Yeah.
I answered the
Yeah,
question?
I think so. Well, I mean, you brought up a whole bunch of other things for me. Because I just feel like there's so many of these limiting beliefs that we have. And until there's a skill, there's a skill to revealing limited beliefs, there's a skill to exploring limited beliefs, there's a skill to giving yourself permission to like have had those and not like hold your old self accountable because you didn't know. But there's also a skill of creating new opportunities for yourself based on seeing these things. So there's like all of these skills that come into play. But there's also, I'm going to come back to the play thing. I wrote it down, so I'm not going to not come back to it. But when we're looking at like surrounding ourselves by people who are accomplishing the things we want to accomplish, one of the things that is really like, I agree. And if what happens to us if we do that without that focus on self-worth, without that belief that we have value? Because something that I see quite often is then people kind of get pulled off course because they'll be like, oh, I'm hanging out with this person and they've made $1 million and I want to make $1 million. So I have to do exactly what they did to make $1 million. And I think that happens because we don't have that self-worth, the confidence in ourselves to say, that's not my way. And I appreciate that you did it that way, and that's cool, and yay for you. And my way is different. Let me go explore my way.
I love what you said, Tracy. This is such a key component. You if that's you, I believe life on your terms cannot exactly be the same as that millionaire.
Right.
So copying, yes, I understand there are success principles that work, but also I believe in expressing yourself, your quirkiness, your accent, where you come from, your story, will be able to help you to create a different and more personalized brand that will really talk to that customer or avatar or niche that you want to serve. So in that sense, what if you could find you and not do someone else or follow someone else to that extent of 100%?
Mm-hmm.
Have That was
Oh
another
yeah.
question. Yeah, would you
No,
agree?
that's perfect, because I think there's just, I think a lot of times we get sold the concept that I know the easy way, so just come and do it my way. Which I always promise people, I will never sell you. I will never sell you that. I have my way. I will share with you my way. If it sounds fun, you can try it if you want. But if it doesn't work for you, that doesn't mean there's something broken about you. That means it's not your way. Let's keep exploring. Let's go find your way. And when you come at it from that perspective of your personal value, your self-worth first, then it's a lot easier to say, like, okay, hey, that marketing tactic didn't work for me. And that's fine. It can work for other people. That's great. Didn't work for me. Nothing wrong with me. Let me go try something else. And this actually really ties back into play for me, because I was sharing that perspective with someone earlier on today. And they were like, oh, it sounds like you just like play with marketing and experimentation. I was like, yes, that's exactly what I do. I play with it. And when I think too often the concept of play is limited to children. We say children get to play and adults have responsibilities and jobs and bills and all the things. And it's not that that's not true, that we have responsibilities and bills and jobs, but that what if we incorporated this concept of play with those things? Like you said earlier, Andre, like I come and I go to work and I play, like I play. And not because I'm not serious about the work that I do, but it feels fun. It feels like I'm on the swings. Like if I was comparing it about to how I felt as a kid on the playground, it's like I'm swinging. There's movement and joy and all of those same feelings that play creates. So when we think about incorporating more play into our day, life, job, career, passion project, whoever you want to incorporate more play into, everything. Like what is the connection we have to look for between our like self-worth and what's important to us, those things that are meaningful to us, and transitioning, like using some of those things as foundations to help us learn what does it look like for me to play nowadays.
I'll give you a formula because I think it would bring in all of those four pieces. And I would just start with, I've been having conversations with a few Buddhist monks, and I know it's a far-fetched example, but the reason why I love that religion, because they told me that, we don't want to tell you what to do and how to do. We are a religion which says, well, try it on, and if it feels right, if it works for you, then apply it in your life. Now, how does play come into this? I think your passion or your purpose in life is somewhere finding a playground or build a playground for you. Look at this wonderful example, Tracy. She's got her own playground. I think I somehow have created a space as well that I have, wonderful conversations. I'm doing what I love. And we have maybe attractive things, but how can you tell whether you're going to the right direction is that energy that you talked about, where it feels right, where it fills you up, it fills your cup, you're full of passion. Well, that's the sign, that's the direction you should be going to. And normally they say the money will follow. Yes, it will. Probably you would need a few strategies that works. But again, take on the ones that fits you.
Mm-hmm.
Don't wear anyone else's shirt. And then I don't think there's anything wrong with taking on different ways of doing things or different strategies that work for one millionaire or the other one, but obviously package it into your personal brand and then enjoy the journey and then unfold into those next versions of you. So now we have hopefully found passion and purpose that's connected to playfulness, self-worth. As you see the results showing up, I believe is a natural feedback mechanism when you become more and more confident about yourself and you see this really works. And I think you have been able to take on strategies from outside that feels right for you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I've heard you use the word a couple of times, so I want to come to this last thing for today, the concept of should. Okay. So you used it in a really great use case, whereas like if you want to do it, you should do it, which is pretty much the only time I use it as well. But in the general narrative, and also if you are a consumer of coaching or you're trying to start your own business or you're trying to change careers, you're in this like transition phase, whatever the transition is, there's generally people who are out there telling you what you should do. So how does self-worth help us deal with the shoulds or help us understand what is the right shirt for us and what isn't?
Well, I've got to take it back to yourself first. If you're shooting on yourself, then probably you are putting on, let's say, other people's expectations or the society's expectations on you. So I would really want you to stop and step back and have a look at what you're saying after the should. I should. The other way where people say I should have, could have done certain things. Well, it's already in the past, so there's not much you can do about that. But I would say, what if you could observe and step back from when someone else is telling you what you should be doing and really look at, are they on your team, or are they speaking from, have they got money in what they are saying?
Mm.
Are they making money off you because obviously people are driven,
Mm.
and at times they are not having your best interest
Right.
at that point. So you want to know, and the funny part is that because of reflections, sometimes the shoulds coming from the outside, they've already been repeated inside.
Mm-hmm.
So you really better look into those, whatever is the root where they come from, and take them off you. So they are not, because I see them as almost like energy vampires on you.
Mm.
You're losing energy, you're losing passion when you are dealing with these shoulds, either from inside, because it's messing up communication with yourself. I'm talking about empowering communication from a powerful mind.
Mm-hmm.
It's taking your energy, it creates a battlefield inside. It splits your personality at that point. You're losing energy, momentum, probably not taking action, procrastinating. And also it could happen when someone else is telling you what to do.
Right.
So then it's time to go back to sometimes create your best version of you. The
Mm-hmm.
next, what would my next version of me do at this point? How would I look at this situation? Because if you live and make decisions from your old self, guess what? You're going to repeat the old results, which probably do not want anymore.
Mhm.
So you need to be bigger than your current results and your current mindset.
Yeah. Oh, this is so good. This is one of the things that I always work on with my clients, and because they're always asking me, what should I do? And my response question is, what would you do? I mean, what would you do? And sometimes we don't know. We have to try and we have to explore. And I have this really great example of when we were potty training my 5-year-old son, who was like not interested in being potty trained. I had asked him if he had to go to the bathroom. He said no. I went, came back, and he had peed all over my bed. And so, like, I picked him up and I put him in the tub, and immediately out of my mouth was like, no toys, no TV until you go pee in the potty. And literally, as soon as it came out of my mouth, I was like, that's not what I would do. Right? Like, that's what society says. Or, like, I don't know if my parents ever said that specifically, or like, that wasn't me. That was my default. That was a default response. But it was such a cool experience for me because it was in that moment I realized, like, in real time, like, that's not what I would do. And I apologized to him, and I was like, no, I'm sorry. I was frustrated. That's none of that is true. And I think a lot of times too, we forget that this is a journey and a learning process that we go on. And sometimes we're going to get it wrong. And sometimes we're going to do something and we're going to say something that doesn't empower us and isn't what we would do. And the practice is in, how do we pay attention to that? How do we, quote unquote, recover? Right? What do we just go with it, even though we know it's not really what I believe? Or do I suck up my ego and be like, okay, no, sorry. Nope, that's not right. Not what I would do. Let's talk about it. There's a journey, and we will make mistakes, and I make mistakes, and I'm sure, Andre, you make mistakes as we go through this journey. It's about being honest and seeing that the mistakes and I don't like the word failure because it seems so final, but like our missteps along the way are just part of the journey. And it's actually part of the discovering of our self-worth, so that I can stand up to myself and be like, okay, that's what a book or society might tell me I should do. I should punish my kid for making this mistake. I don't believe that. And other people might not agree with me, and that's also fine. But I can do what I feel is right for me and my family, and I can feel confident in that.
There's just one more thing I would love to add is the self-worth piece is closely connected to identity or beingness. And that question is, what should I do? I've got to say it's limited in some way, because if you step one more step back and say, who am I? And what's important for me? The to-do part will be automatically answered, because from your being, it will be easy to show up a way where you are either a loving parent or where you are, watch this, you're not trading in your little son's self-worth for a ruined piece of clothes on the table or a mattress, because I can tell you, I meet people each day and they have a similar event where they're telling me that, I realized I actually lost my self-worth at age 6 when I did something wrong and I've been abused.
Yeah.
So be very careful.
Yeah. Well, and this is this is why the practice and being in conversations about these things is so powerful, because it helps us get those insights. It allows us to see new things that we didn't see. It allows us to create space for other people that we weren't capable of doing before. And at the end of the day, it really allows for every human that we touch to practice moving closer and closer to true self-worth, then farther and farther, which I think is a worthwhile journey for all of us to go on. So, Andre, I know you have a time limitation for today. So, if the people who are in our conversation today want to learn more about self-work and the work that you do in that arena, where is the best place for them to get connected with you?
The easiest probably is to just look up doctorofselfworth.com or hashtag doctorofselfworth, and you will end up on one of my pages and you'll be able to engage. But I want to say, if you see value and you're able to request Tracy, I'm happy to come back without a time limitation. And we had time zones issues, and I don't want to even gonna explain this, but I'm happy to come back and have more of this, because it really helped me to crystallize some thoughts myself, because I tend to fall into some traps myself, and then I will maybe share more of those. And I'm supposed to be the doctor, but I'm just a
I
human.
always think that people become experts and doctors because they are more curious than other people in their area of expertise. And so this is why I just feel conversations are so empowering, because through conversation, we get access to another person's perspective, and it can help us crystallize or explore things. And they're like, oh, I've never heard anyone ask the question quite that way. How would I respond to it? This is a growth opportunity for everyone in conversation, regardless of whether or not that's on LinkedIn Live or a conversation with your spouse or a conversation with a stranger at a coffee shop. There's always so much opportunity to gain new perspective in conversation. So I want to thank you, everyone. Inger, David, Andrew, Robert, Alan, Madeline, Pierre. We had a lovely group in our comment section today. Thank you all for coming out and sharing your perspective. And Andre, thank you so much for coming and sharing all of your wonderful expertise. Definitely get connected with Andre, everyone, and get connected with each other. These are the people who are talking about self-worth. And as far as I'm concerned, you can't have too many people in your community who are talking about improving everybody's self-worth. That seems like good people. Thank you, everyone, for your time today. And until next time, permission to do you.
I love being here. Thank you